In this video, we're going to take a look at how to bring in our camera that we exported from Cinema 4D for this shot and set it up properly to work in Unreal. These are the same processes we did in the last chapter, but it's good to see it for another example and to get some experience doing it over and over again a couple times, because then it'll ingrain the process in your head. So first thing we're going to do is go to our world outliner here, and let's go to our cinematics menu and do add matinee, because we're going to import our camera, as you remember, through our matinee system. So I'm going to go to File, Import, and we're going to go to Chapter 3, Cinema 4D, FBX Export, and then choose our export cam and open it up. It's going to say Create All Cameras. Yes. Okay, cool. So now we have our camera in here and we can see the keyframes. I'm going to click Movement down here in the tracks, right-click and do Split Translation and Rotation, just so we can see the XYZ for both translation and rotation. I'll click our little viewer icon here so we can get the actual tracks up in the curve editor and hit fit. So there we go. Now we can see all of our curves coming in. Just a nice way to check to make sure everything is worked out properly. All right, cool. So I'm going to right click here and say remove all curves, which of course doesn't delete them. It just removes them from view. All right, so now under the tracks area in this gray area here, I'm going to right click and say add new director group. Again, as you remember, our director group is basically just a group that is needed to be able to look through cameras as we play back. And we're just going to add this camera to the entire length because we aren't cutting between different cameras. So I select our director, make sure that we're wound to 0, which we are, and then hit Enter. And then I'm going to select the render cam here and say OK. So now you can see we have our render cam that's going to be looked through for the entire duration of the shot. All right, that's all we need to do in Matinee right now to have this set up properly, so we're going to close out of Matinee. Right. One other thing we need to do is you need to take our camera, as we did before, put it inside a null, and do some rotations just so our coordinate systems match between Cinema 4D and Unreal. And again, these are the exact same thing we did last time. If you export your cameras the way I've showed you out of Cinema 4D, the import process will involve the exact same things. You don't have to refigure this out for different cameras. It's always the same. Okay, so we go into our modes menu here. I'm going to take an empty actor again, which is just a null, and put it in our scene. I'm going to zero out its transforms. And I'll make its editor billboard scale 0. Go over to our world outliner. I'm going to select our empty actor here, hit F2 and title it Cam Control. I'm going to find our render cam. I'm going to drag that over the cam control to put it inside it, and there we go. So now, and these are the same numbers from before, the little magic numbers to make this work is that we're going to rotate this empty actor that the camera is inside. We're going to 0 on the X, -90 on the Y, and 90 on the Z. Just has to be done to make everything work right. Okay, so one last thing we need to do to make sure this works properly is we need to have the matinee start when we hit play in the scene. So I'm going to grab my matinee actor in my world outliner, and we need to make sure to turn on play on level load. Okay, so that's going to make sure that the matinee plays when we start, and we're going to do our little blueprint setup that we've done before once more, and this just allows us to have the system automatically quit out of the game once the matinee timeline is over. So again, let's make sure the matinee actor is selected in our outliner. I'm going to go to Blueprints and open our level blueprint. Now I'm going to right-click here in the empty grid, and because our matinee actor is selected, we have a little option here. It says Create a Matinee Controller for Matinee Actor 0. Sounds good. That's what we want. It's going to give us a little ping when it's finished. I'm going to right-click on the grid. I'm going to type Quit in our search field. I'm going to select Quit Game. I'm just going to wire these guys together. Very simple little script here. When it's finished, quit the game. Done. We can get out of Blueprints. Okay, so now we've imported our camera, we've set it up properly in Matinee, we've put the camera under a null and done our little magic rotation we need to do to get our coordinates right. We've made sure the matinee is going to play when we start the level, and we've set up a blueprint to have it stop when it's done. So now we should be ready to go, so let's just hit play. And there we go. We have our animation working exactly how it did in Cinema 4D. We have our camera animation happening exactly how it happened in Cinema 4D. Everything matches up perfectly, and we can move on to getting materials on these objects and getting it looking good to render.